I'm in the Earlham Road Cemetery in Norwich, and I'm standing next to the grave of Margaret Mary Julia Devlin, who died on January the 15th, 1972. At the time of filming this, she's so unremarked that she's not even listed on the Wikipedia page of the cemetery as one of the famous people who's buried here. That may be because she's better known by another name. Before she was married, her surname was Ashford, and instead of Margaret, people called her Daisy. Who is she? She's a woman who wrote her first best-selling novel, aged just 4 years old. Daisy Ashford was always a very smart child. She dictated her first novel to her father, aged 4, in 1885. It was called The Life of Father McSwiney, and while her father was probably quite surprised by just how good it was, especially for a 4-year-old, he wasn't about to charge off and find her an agent and get it published. Instead, he put it to one side for safekeeping. Imagine the 1885 version of sticking it to a fridge with a magnet. The thing was, Daisy wouldn't stop banging them out. She kept writing novels. A Woman's Crime, Where Love Lies Deepest, The Jealous Governess. As any parent will tell you, you only have so much fridge front real estate and so many magnets for proudly displaying a kid's work. A lot of what she wrote has been lost to history, but enough of them were kept. Her breakthrough novel was written in 1890 when she was just 9 years old, and it was called The Young Visitors, usually with visitors misspelled to keep her original childhood choices intact. When it was finished, it was put to one side with the other novels. Time then passed. Daisy had long since given up writing. She gave up when she was around 13 or so, having finished what is generally regarded as her best book, her last novel, The Hangman's Daughter. In 1896, the family had moved to Lewes, and then they moved to Bexhill. Then World War I broke out. She was a secretary for the British legation in Bern. More time passed, around 28 years to be precise, and at this point something very unfortunate happened. Daisy's mother died, and so all 3 sisters returned home to the family house in order to do the sorts of things that you have to do when parents die. They started cleaning the place up, and while they were doing that, they came across the box which contained the novellas. Now, passing them out amongst themselves, they all agreed that these were actually pretty good. She took the books home with her, and she showed them to friends. Now, one of those friends then showed it to another friend, and he happened to work in publishing. Did he like it? Well, a year later in 1919, it was published with a foreword by Peter Pan author J.M. Barrie. It was an instant hit. It had 18 reprints in its first year. To begin with, she kept her anonymity, and that fueled speculation about who had actually written the work. Bit by bit, though, it began to leak out where this novella had come from. Many couldn't believe that this romantic and comedic gem could stir from the pen of a 9-year-old. The writing was just too perfectly childish, complete with spelling errors, compared to its acute observations of Victorian society and mannerisms, with complex allusions to love and duty. They mistakenly thought that J.M. Barrie must be the author and was using Daisy Ashford as a front, an amusing conceit in order to help drum up more publicity. But it just wasn't so. Demand surged. Her other works, one by one, those that survived, went into print as well. The last to do so was that very first book, dictated to her father, aged 4, while sitting in front of a fireplace on his lap, The Life of Father McSwiney. It was finally published in 1983, almost a century after it was written. Daisy Ashford never returned to writing, though. In 1920, aged 38, she met a man called James Devlin and fell in love. They got married. They had 4 children. In fact, they bought a flower growers not far from here, and then a little later on, they bought the King's Arms Hotel in Reepham. The Visitors was turned into a play, then into a musical, and finally it was made into a movie. Eventually, Daisy Ashford bought a farm with her money. A Guardian journalist caught up with her reasonably near the end of her life and asked her why she'd never done another book. She replied, "I like fresh air and royalty checks." Daisy Ashford, a quite remarkable little piece of the past.